before you buy your equipment, watch this video all the way through and subscribe to our channel. There's a lot of things I'm going to tell you that you don't want you to know. Hey guys, thanks for joining me. Captain Kurt Fister here. Hey, listen, we're down at our Florida Training Center, and I wanted to make another video. It's kind of similar to our other one, Trike versus Footlaunch, except I'm going to be bouncing between both subjects of foot launching versus trike, as well as this particular trike, this particular motor, so you can know the differences of it. I normally didn't like trike training years ago because they didn't offer an advantage. Ever since the FlyPod trike came out over 15 years ago, it has dominated the sport of triking. There is absolutely no advantage to foot launching. You hear that? Listen to me again. There's absolutely no advantage to foot launching. There really isn't. I'm going to go over some of those. And any questions you might have or any thoughts you might have about foot launching versus trike are going to be extinguished. I guarantee it, because I've been in the sport for 30 years now. I've trained a world record number of students. We have an absolutely perfect safety record. And I've taken the time to really explain to some of my videos the difference between the two, not only in this product, but also in the difference between trike and foot launching. And I want to go through some of those. This is the Gen 4 FlyPod trike. FlyPod makes the trike. The motors that we use are from Fresh Breeze. If you're buying another brand, you're robbing yourself of so many things that the other brands don't have. The only way I can compare other motors on the market is just to say two words: Harbor Freightish. And that's all I can say. You're missing so many features that are found on a German Fresh Breeze, on our motors. On this particular motors right here, that's a 313cc motor. It's absolutely the power plant for just big, heavy guys and doing tandems. Nice thing about taking a motor like this is that you're not taking a tiny motor and just wearing it out by staying on the throttle the entire time. And especially when those don't have better bearings, better crankcases, triple jointed exhaust, prop up stabilizers, high energy ignition, internal decompression. I mean, there's a whole list of features that are on a German Fresh Breeze, which is why the company's been out there for over 39 years now, doing nothing but powered paragliding. That's what they do. So the company is around. You always have availability of parts. You'll have a better machine. You get what you pay for when it comes to the machinery out there. And some people, believe it or not, are actually paying more than what they would for a Fresh Breeze, but they're missing all of the features. And you can see that in some of our other videos where we talk about the difference in our motors. Everything's different. The carburation, where we mount our tanks so we can eliminate, primer bulbs, fuel pumps, diaphragm carburetors. Got a good old-fashioned float ball on it. You pull the cord, it's running. High energy ignition system. We pair that up with the FlyPod trike. Now, people always say, I never see you guys training on foot launch. Well, we get them in all the time. We really honestly do. It's a lot of work. And all I can say is right off the bat is there is absolutely, again, nothing to gain from foot launching at all. The safety's not there like it is with a trike. The convenience of being able to not have to carry your motor all the way to the other side of the field every time you want to fly, lug it all the way back, you're exhausted, you just drive over there now. Put your wing in your lap, drive over there. Let me just talk about some of the things why I like a trike, especially the FlyPod trike. Now, I can't say that about every trike, because some of the trikes, they don't have the features of the FlyPod. This may look very simple, but it has features that aren't found on the other brands. First of all, this is steel tubing. This isn't aluminum. This thing is built solid. You can take a hit with this. This has saved a few lives. I know guys have done some stupid things and they've got themselves into predicaments, and this trike literally saved their life. They walked away without a scratch, and really this trike has dominated the market for not only that reason, but a whole bunch of other ones. Like this, for example, this front end is self-correcting. No other trike does this. Watch, like when you're first learning how to fly a trike, if your wing goes off to one side, the other trikes want to roll over into that section where there's no wheel. Quads are not the answer. Quads are actually more unstable because your legs are, one tire's in one rut, one's in another, and they're bulky in the air. They don't self-correct. Your legs are going like pistons on the front end where you put your feet to try to steer a trike. Unless you had something like a putting green that you were taking off of, I mean baby smooth, quads are not the way to go. Also, when they leave the ground, if that front wheel, which is not in the center, if they're rocking a little bit, you have a front wheel that's off-centered, that front wheel grabs the ground and flips the whole quad over. So they're not safer. That's a fallacy. But other trikes don't have what the FlyPod trike has either. The Gen 4 FlyPod trike, as well as all of the other generations of the FlyPod, have self-correctiveness. That front end, you see the way it's castered back. If the wing was starting to tip a guy over, it would be pulling. Watch what it does. Watch that front end. It immediately self-steers and self-corrects towards the way that it would have rolled over. So it's the hardest trike to roll over, and if you did roll it over, you're in the safest possible trike because you've got pilot protection all around. You've got a steel cage around you. You've got a bucket seat that's got head all the way up to your head. You've got this cage as a roll cage. So it's the hardest trike to roll. It's not that you can't roll it. It's just the hardest one to roll because it does want to do so much work from you. It's got steel tubing underneath the seats, all around you. It's got pilot protection. The other thing that this trike has that the other trikes don't have is a lot of them take their motor, they mount it on like a T-frame, and they call that a trike. Any trike that you see out on the market that is using harnesses also is doing something else. They have the harnesses hanging from whatever their framing system is, and if that thing should happen to roll over, the harness is just hanging. And that's what you're strapped into, which means your head can come in contact with the ground or things around it because you're not being held into the framework itself. You follow what I'm saying? So you flip it over, you're in something loose. Not only that, it's unbelievably uncomfortable. You have to slide in from sides and try to crawl in and try to get all these straps on. With this one, you can open the seatbelt up, you sit down, you climb in right from the front. You've got all that pilot protection now, and you can just pop yourself right in here. And you're right in. And so you've got this around you. It's really nice. You can mount cameras on this, GoPros on it. You can get a cell phone holder for like a motorcycle handlebar, mount it right here. Mount your telephone right here, your cell phone, and you've got full navigation for free on some of the apps that are out there for powered paragliding. So these are some of the things. We get all sorts of different pilots with the other trikes on the market. However big it is, that's what you get. If you're a 7-foot guy, if you're a 4'8", person, and we've had both. We had a guy come in at the same time. He was 7'1", and at the same time, I think we have that picture on our website somewhere. If you go to FlightJunkies.com, but a lady came in. Her name was Maddie, and she was about 4'8", 4'9". They stood next to each other, but they both had trikes. She tried trike after trike after trike, and the only one that would fit her was the FlyPod trike. This entire front end is telescopic. You pop a pin, boom, you can set it to any pilot level you want. The 7-foot guy, he said, oh, this is the most comfortable one I've tried. He was able to put his feet exactly where his comfort level was. The other ones on the market don't have multiple handrails like this one. And what's nice about this is I'm not unbolting anything. It's a true high hang point, makes it more stable when it's flying. I do full aerobatics in this trike. It just stays with the pilot. No other trike that I've ever flown stays with you like the FlyPod trike. When you pull a turn, the other ones have a lag time and then they rock and sway because they don't have a true high hang point. And if they do, they have only one. This one has multiple hang points to adjust for any size pilot, so he can choose how he wants to hang in this thing and pick his own center of gravity. And having this also is another thing. Another great thing about the trike is you can share a trike with somebody that's not the same body weight. The weight range is much more, it's more expanded than just going with Footlaunch. Another reason I don't care for Footlaunch. With Footlaunch, it's very particular what size motor, it's very particular what size wing that you're in, and a combination of the wrong wing and a motor that's too powerful, that could be deadly. Going with underpower means you're going to be overworking your motor or not getting off the ground. You're going to be very frustrated on a climb out. With a trike, the safety is there on takeoff because you can fly the biggest, baddest motor, which is this one right here. 313 cc's of raw power. It's got a 4-bladed propeller system. Some people wouldn't even be able to stand up with that motor on their back. It's in the 70s pound range with fuel, and it's in about mid-70s with the fuel and everything else in it. So do I foot launch it? I have. You can see some of my other videos. But I make it look easy. I've been doing this for 30 years, and I was a national skydiver before this. I've got thousands of jumps, but I can make it look easy. There's a lot of things that other people don't want you to know, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But anyways, putting this on your back would be a real chore. It's not that you can't do it. It's just the amount of work that you're going to go to do it And the dues that you're going to pay, when you're foot launching, you have to fly a very specific motor. So let's say I'm under 200 pounds and I need to go into our medium-sized motor. Okay, I go into that. I start flying it. If I went into something too powerful, I can get what's called riser twist. A lot of people don't know this. They buy used equipment. They have no idea how they're setting themselves up for failure, injury, or possibly even death when they buy used equipment, because they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what they don't know, and the guy that's selling it sure as heck ain't going to tell you. And he's not always going to be truthful about the amount of time on the wing and sort of different things about it. There's no hour meter on them, though, so unless you're buying from somebody extremely reputable, I usually tend to tell people you might want to watch used equipment. Every now and then there's a great deal. We sometimes help our students, if they're going through anything, help them sell their used equipment, but other than that. So being into the right motor, the right wing is what makes foot launching safe. Again, underpowered or overpowered, you're putting yourself in frustration or putting yourself in danger. With the trike, that's eliminated. I cannot get riser twist because where these are located, and also the stability of the extra weight of the trike. It also allows me to fly a bigger motor. So let's say I was flying a medium-sized motor because I was under 200 pounds, and later on I got good at it and I wanted to do tandem. Well, first of all, to do foot launch tandem is a whole lot of work, because now your student that you strap in front of you, you've got a lot of more work to do with him, and he does all sorts of crazy things. I used to do a lot of foot launch tandems. They trip, they fall, they lift their feet too soon, and they ruin your equipment because they drop their bars, you pole vault right over them, or you trip on them. You have to run in synchronization. FlyPod also has other versions of this, and they have a double seater trike. The nice thing about it is you can take this motor, pop it off of this one in under 30 seconds, pop it on your double seater trike. Or you can start with a double seater trike. But again, the nice thing about this is you can change the body weights. For example, I had if you check out our video called The 17-Year-Old Girl, she was about $110, $115 in weight. Her dad was about 230, 240 pounds, something like that. And they were both going to buy their own foot launch unit. I said, listen, you want to save a ton of money? First of all, you're going to save a ton of money because you're not going to be breaking propellers. Everybody who foot launches breaks a minimum of 3 to 4 sets of propellers in the first year. You don't think that's a lot? These are $470 a piece for these beautiful Scimitar carbon fiber props, and each one of these cage quarters is over 350 bucks. So when you trip and fall in the first year of your learning curve, if you're a foot launcher, you're going to break these props, you're going to break these cages, you're going to smash up your equipment each time you trip and fall, because everything's flexible, everything's motor mounted in here, and when you do trip and fall, which you will do, you have a motor on your back, it's mounted high on your back, so you're top heavy, it's pushing you faster than you could run, while at the same time you're steering a wing, and then you've only got one foot on the ground at a time when you're running. So that's kind of the problem. And I told a group of Navy SEALs this that came in for training. They kind of laughed. They said, dude, we're Navy SEALs. We're not going to trip. We're not going to fall. I said, like, you don't understand. You're going to trip. The first guy broke it right on his first attempt. He broke his set of props. The other guys that were with him said, give me a trike. Because they watched my trike guys having so much fun and doing it. They didn't have to learn how to kite. Kiting is obsolete. You're going to learn setup. You can drive over to the other side of the field. You can land in every direction. Another thing you can't do with foot launching. I'm much more comfortable in a nice bucket seat, and when I'm flying in this, my front nose is up like that. When I'm flying, it's like being in a recliner. I've got a cushioned bucket seat right here. I got my feet up. If I want to feel like I foot launch, I can just hang them down. I get the same identical view. And not only are you going to have bad takeoffs in the first year, you're going to have bad landings. Oh, yeah. See, they don't want you to know about this, and I'm going to tell you something. A lot of people don't want you to go with foot launch, and a lot of dealers will try to talk you out of, they don't want you to know about triking. They want you to go with foot launch. And here's the reason I honestly believe it, okay? You're going to bust these things up in the first 2 years. You're going to break a lot of them. The average is about 6 or 7, but I've never seen less than 3 or 4 for anybody that foot launches. So they buy a prop, they buy a couple cage parts, they bust another one, they bust another one. Well, let's say you're a dealer and you had 5 students that week, 5 students this week, 5 students this week, and 5, there's 1 month. There's 20 students, okay? All year long, when those students go home from just that 1 month, you're going to be making profit off of that, and you're going to be making profit off of that, and they don't want you to know about that. It's only a few bucks, but it adds up. And so they try to keep people away from the trikes because you're not tripping, you're not falling, you're not breaking propellers, you're not ruining your equipment. And that's just from a financial aspect. So by the time you trip and fall and you break this and you break two of these, just in one trip and fall you break two cage parts, there's $700. A prop, there is $475. If you have a double prop, you're breaking even more. So let's say you break $1,000 every time you trip and fall, and you're going to break 3 of them in the first year. If you only break that much, you've more than paid for the Gen 4 FlyPod trike. But again, the FlyPod trike allows you to do more. You can now share it with your family, and since I train the entire family, I train whoever bought it, the wife, the husband, I train their spouse, I train their kids how to fly. They don't have to pay for training either under your VIP pass if you bought it. That's the current training. We used to train, anybody in the family. We've just gotten so busy, and people have really tried to take advantage of that situation with the free training, and we do. We give unlimited free training for life, future classes, aerobatics, tandem, whatever you need to do, we'll train you. And your children and your spouse can take training as well. So you're saving thousands right there, plus you're saving even more by not breaking your propellers, plus you're safer because you're in a piece of steel all around you, so you're not going to get hurt from tripping and falling. You don't have the weight of the motor on your spine, and especially when you have a hard landing in the first year. You're going to have a lot of hard landings in your first year. You are not just going to dance in like a little ballerina and land tippy-toe and set it right down. It's not going to be like that. You see me in my videos, that's because I've been doing it for so long, and like I said, I was a national skydiver for 20 years, so you're just not going to do that. I'm going to tell you the truth about it. It's a lot of work, and I can still train you if you want a foot launch. We train foot launchers here all the time. They usually end up seeing what they can do with a trike, and they switch. But when somebody said, and that's why I'm making this video, somebody just said, well, he doesn't train on foot launch. Yes, I do. I train foot launchers all the time. But they just don't, it's so much work, and they don't even like it when they can just enjoy this. The Gen 4 FlyPod, in the first year, you'll see some students have hard landings. They can slam this thing down to the ground. Slam it. And just laugh about it. At worst case scenario is they bend that steel tubing for the axles, and they can buy a whole nother set of axles for about 160 bucks, which is much better than knees, ankles, hips, spine, everything strapped to your back. Hard landings don't feel good. Even if you don't break anything, they don't feel good. And people say, well, that's just for old guys. I'm telling you, dude, I don't care who you are. It's just so much easier. What are you robbing yourself of? Nothing. You're not. Well, one guy says, well, I can get off the ground faster with foot launching. Really? Yeah, maybe if there's a breeze, but here's the deal. When you're taking off, let's say you get off, let's say you have a little bit of breeze and you can do a reverse launch and you can walk it off the deck in 10 feet, okay? That's the only way you're going to get off quicker, but what are you taking off of? Well, I mean, there still can't be anything straight out ahead of you. There has to be more field there. So who cares if the foot launch can get off a little easier? There still has to be field there, so if that field's big enough to foot launch out of, it's big enough to trike out of. The other misconception is, and that is one of the biggest misconceptions that they get out of credit, but on a day with no wind, in the mornings and in the evenings, which is the only time I teach my students to fly, I tell them to avoid midday. Midday can cause collapses, it's bumpy, and it's not really fun to fly in wind because you don't go in any direction. You know, when you're into the wind, you're crawling along slow. When you're with the wind, you're rocketing. It's bumpy, it's throwing you around a little bit. It's really not fun. I like glassy, smooth mornings. I like glassy, smooth evenings. I don't fly midday, and so that's the only other advantage. You know, is yeah, okay, I can do a reverse launch and get off, but I have to fly, in order to get off quick, I have to fly on a windy day. On a day when there's no wind, you will watch a foot launcher go 50, 60, 70 feet of running. He'll burn up 30 foot just getting the wing off the ground, over his head. He'll run another 20, 30 feet, so you burn like 60 feet. With a trike, I can mash on the throttle, and if I want, if you check out my one video, Pastor Rob makes his first flight, watch that one. Watch how fast I get off the ground. When you're skilled at getting off of the trike, I can get off in like 25, 30 feet on a zero wind, dead day, pop it right off the ground. So your skill level comes into play with that too. But much safer, much more convenient. You don't have to spend your hours and hours kiting. There's no tripping, there's no falling. You're not carrying your stuff to the other side of the field. You're sitting in a nice chair. Hard landings don't leave you limping. I mean, I don't see any advantage to foot launching whatsoever. I'm confused when I want to see people do it. When you talk about portability, they say, well, it's more portable. This thing breaks down so easy that when you want to take the motor off here, and if you watch our other videos, we can get all of this. A FlyPod trike and the Gen 4 can break down without any tools in under 30 seconds. I mean 3 minutes. And it's only about 30 seconds to actually remove the motor from the trike. Completely separate them. 3 more pins. Look at 2 backwards here and 1 underneath. I'll just pop the axles off. I can throw this in the car, lay it outside. I throw the tires and the front end in here on its side. This whole cage comes apart with Velcro strips. This comes off, this comes off. They all sandwich together. This can be rotated. You don't even have to take the propellers off, but if you want to, even our propellers break down in half. But in under 4 minutes, I can stick this in the back of a Tesla, if you saw that video, the back of a Prius, the back of a Kia Soul. These things fit down into some of the smallest parts and in under 3 minutes without any tools. I'm not stringing any netting because our cage is all integrated into it. And it's just unbelievable. The nice thing about this trike too, the Gen 4 FlyPod trike, now they've changed it with the new bucket seat. If you see some of the other videos, it had like a boat seat on it, which worked beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful because it was able to get wet from dew and stuff like that. It didn't absorb it, and it could fold down, and it traveled real nice. But this one offers a different inclination to looking up and seeing the wing. You got about a 45-degree angle. You're sitting back a little bit more. The pilot is more forward. We've also now we've extended the frame. We've added bigger gussets on the back so we have more pilot forward. And we left all this room in here. We have duffel bags that fit down in here, and then they connect to your seat through this slot right here. You can see my fingers touching right there. And then they just hang over this. And now you can travel with camping gear, supplies. You can put your wing bag in there, anything that you need. And so you can take a little camping trip. And that's another thing about the trike, is you can strap on tons more gear, another 40, 50, 60 pounds of extra gear. Because remember, you can fly a bigger motor than you could if you were not. You know, if you were foot launch, you'd be limited to the size of motor. And plus, where are you going to strap all that gear on you while you're already struggling to run with a motor on your back? Where are you going to put all that gear? How are you going to do that? You can't. With this, you can put it in a duffel bag, put it right on the back here, and you're up and out. It's not a lot of work. Now, another nice thing about the trike is it can land in any direction, anytime. So let's say you're going downwind and you're only 10 feet above the field or an open field, and you just want to fly really low. And let's say you had about a 7 or 8, 9 mile an hour wind, and you just had a motor out. In a foot launch, get ready, because you're coming in on your face, your hands, your knees. You're going to be doing some tumbling. It's not going to feel good. You have a motor out going downwind. You don't have time enough to turn it back into the wind to have a nice soft landing before you flare. With a trike, you can come in smoking hot with a 15 mile an hour tailwind and set her down baby smooth. There's no difference. You can have a motor out at any time, and you don't have legs, ankles, knees, shoulders, hips. You don't have any of that as the landing gear. You've got wheels that can roll faster than you can run. You've got steel all around you, and it doesn't matter. You can laugh about it. So that's another nice thing. Those are just a few things. Watch the other video too, because I talk about that. The FlyPod Gen 4 is still, FlyPod has always had the best-selling trikes on the market. And when you watch that other video, right at the end of the video, I do a demonstration, because some people say, oh, it's not as maneuverable as foot launching. Watch the end of that one, because I do a little bit of basic aerobatics in that one, but I can do full-blown aerobatics in mine, with the exception of doing an infinity, which personally I don't think the risk of doing that is worth the reward of doing it. It awes the crowd and it's good, but I would probably not do that with a trike. But other than that one where it's tumbling going over, it's called an infinity, I wouldn't do that with a trike. But that can be done with it. But you know, who wants to do that? Most people just want to fly, have fun, enjoy life. We've got 4 versions of it. We got the beach pod with the big tires. We've got the Gen 4 FlyPod standard, which is this one. We've got the FlyPod X with the double seat. Some of these other double seat ones, you're in there hanging from harnesses and trying to get in. They're overdone. You need a trailer. You can't break them down. They're so elaborate that your vision's all hindered. It's the FlyPod X is like a stretched out version of this one. Check that one out. Check that video out. And by the way, with this motor, when anybody goes into a trike, I always put them into the bigger motor. Because if they ever do want to do tandem, they already have the motor, the most expensive part. They don't have to buy a whole nother motor. So you can't do that in foot launching. If you're under so much, you're going to not be able to fly a bigger motor. And then when you want to do tandem, you got to purchase a whole nother motor that's only going to be used when you're flying a whole nother human being and his body weight. So with the trike, you don't have to do that. You just get the biggest one right from the beginning. And like I said in that video, the 17-year-old girl, she was only about 110, 115 pounds, and she was able to fly the biggest motor because her dad did. So she didn't even have to buy a whole nother unit. And there's also a way of bypassing getting this. If you know that you're going to do tandem, if your wife maybe wants to fly with you, but she has no interest in being the pilot or learning how to do it, but she wants to go up and or your kids or whatever, your grandkids, you can bypass getting a single-seater and go right to the FlyPod X and just fly it for a few months after you leave training. Just get real good at your takeoff and landings, and then you're able to have the skill to just put them in the front seat. And again, same things. You got the self-steering front end on the double X. You got the same self-correctedness. You can pop it apart with pins. And then we also have the FlyPod e-bike. It is the first in the world. It's the first flying e-bike. After you land, you've got storage space for your wing behind you. You can put your wing, you can hang it in its stuff sack behind the machine, or you can store it down in here. And then it is an e-bike with 2,000 watt motors and a battery system, and so you can literally drive through town. It goes about 25 miles on a charge, so you can literally do a cross country. It's got bike wheels, so it's street legal and it's air legal. It has no license needed for either one. Powered paragliding does not require a license, and even if you do the double, we'll show you how to be able to do double without a sport pilot license and do all that. I hope this has been helpful for you. But again, so many people are have a misconception that we don't foot launch here. We foot launch all the time. We get students in all the time that foot launch. We kind of just but once they see the trike, we should make more videos about foot launching, to be honest with you. We've got a few of them out there, but we just don't get that many people once I explain the difference. And again, if you have any questions, give us a call. Our phone lines are open from 8 in the morning until midnight. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button below, and you'll see all of our videos. You'll really learn a lot from them. Some of them are pretty personal because we kind of run this like family, and we train each and every student ourselves. We don't send them off to some knockoff instructor. We're very proud of our safety record. We don't do this for a living, so we have a good, honest opinion about the equipment. Don't waste a dime on another brand. You won't get the quality, and you won't get free training, and we'll get you into equipment that's the best there is. And you can piece for piece break down a fresh breeze. You can piece for piece break this down, and the quality's just there. We're not going to deal with something that's breaking all the time. Some of these other guys, I just don't know how they end up in the equipment they do. They just obviously have never heard what I'm saying. Because it's the choices they make just are unbelievable when they call in. But that's what it is. Sometimes they just hear about us late. But listen, if there's anything that we can do to help us, give us a call. Our phone lines are open from 8 in the morning until midnight, 7 days a week for the past 30 years. Watch how fast this thing, when I want to put my motor on my machine, or my machine on my motor, or my motor on my trike rather. But watch how fast I can put this on. I pop 3 pins, it's on, it's ready to go. I can take it on and off there in seconds. I can break it down, stick it in the back of the truck. If you haven't seen this, you'd like to see it in person, let us know. This is the new Gen 4, so when you see the ones in the other videos with the bucket seats on it, that's the Gen 3 or earlier models. But I hope this has been educational for you. Let me know what I can do for you. We look forward to seeing you up in the air.